The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order! The Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels, is now in possession. Grudge, nobody likes a judge. Yeah, nobody likes a vampire either. Ryan Luis Rodriguez presiding. Will you all please dies for the horrible Grudge Rodriguez?
I already missed.
I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna take a while to get used to.
I didn't think he was this popular enough to come back.
No,
Oh, he's popular.
only Big Ben likes him.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels. Today we are hearing the case of The People vs. Suck, a 2009 horror comedy musical about a down-on-their-luck rock band who finds success after one of their members becomes a beautiful vampiress. For those of you unfamiliar with our spooky court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie. If so, it shall be cast for all eternity into the fiery pits of movie hell upon which this courthouse just so happens to be built. Mr. Dylan J.
We're open for
Schlender.
the season again. The season has started. I love when we open hell. It's great.
Yes, it's quite the time.
It saves on our heating bill, right?
Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, the movie is called Suck. I mean, come on. Really? I mean, come on. And why do I have to prosecute all the vampire movies? I'm all out of jokes. But you see, this whole genre is out of jokes, steam, gas. It is just as pallid as the lanky vampires we see float through the movie. And this is because Suck follows a type of genre mashing that is wholly unpalatable to discerning viewers and listeners. Music that is not good enough to be released, and a story that is not good enough to stand on its own. So thus we build this house of cards of each weakness supporting the other, only waiting for someone to sneeze. Well, here it is, at you. If we combine, thank you, the superfluous cameos and the overall weakness of the characters and plot, we are left with a movie that deserves all the rhetorical stakes I will be driving into it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Ms. Isabel Teran. Please present your opening statement.
What you mean, Taryn?
Oh, quiet you.
No, I think he's going to get louder, actually.
Oh, goodness. Thank you, Your Haughty Honor. All right. Distinguished jury. You shut your mouth. Distinguished jury. Thank you for your services to this courtroom, and my hope is to show you that your time is valued and was valued in what may be pushed and to be perceived as an unenjoyable case. Dylan.
Oh, well.
Suck. An act of drawing into the mouth by contracting the muscles and lip of the mouth to make a partial vacuum. You could easily say this is a life-giving act. It is one we've all instinctively known since infancy. So you could say that all humans have sucked at one point or another.
No.
It is not a mere coincidence that the legend of vampirism would borrow from this fact. We all know that vampires suck blood from their victims to sustain their immortality, and in modern-day cinema, Dracula characters have grown to be used as an addiction metaphor and a symbolism of repressed sexuality. These are societal monsters that are very real, just as today, we're here to show you who the real monsters are in this courtroom.
Big Ben.
He's doing nothing.
Just sitting there, living his own life. I mean, in naming the movie Suck, There is an understanding that the word has sexual, vampiric, and negative connotations that are obviously very well known in our culture. It is upfront about many aspects of the movie in a single word. It's sexual, it's got vampires, and suck is obviously low budget, which will incur the negative connotation of the word, which only adds to the humor and honesty with itself. Well, demonstrating that suck was made to be an enjoyable experience for anyone, but apparently only a certain group seems to appreciate it more. Suck delivers on the tagline of sex, blood, and rock and roll, and pays humorous homage to rock and roll and Dracula while simultaneously having fun with the cliche stereotypes of both band life and vampire movies. Suck uses the gateway of humor to bring up real issues like sexual health, gun control, addiction, the music industry, and is a parable that was designed to show us a lesson and was never meant for the characters to learn. We have the Winners, a band that's basically sucks, and has been trying for 10 years to catch a break, desperately clinging to their ego-driven desires and greed. This leads them on a path of vampirism that can be paralleled to addiction, destructive enabling behaviors, and dealing with the crossroads of the moral compass, especially when making deals with the devil to sell your soul for fame. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, Suck does have a loaded cast of rock and rollers, which bring in a vast variety of music under the rock genre, not only in audio format, but also visually with references to album covers and songs in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teran. Mr. Schlender, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. See, I love when Reels of Justice gives me an opportunity to rail against a really minor thing that really just bugs me, and maybe other people don't care about it, but I get to talk, so here we are. And that's made up bands in movies. Now, we see a handful of examples where this works. Most prominent amongst them would be This Is Spinal Tap, and even featured on this show before, Josie and the Pussycats.
Woo!
They combine story, acting, and music into a palatable movie, right?
Objections. Josie and the Pussycats was not just made up, like, it was kind of like a thing before.
Well, they
Sustained.
They got their origins as a made-up band, and they did not perform any original Josie and the Pussycats music in the movie, is my point. It was all made up for that movie.
Yeah,
clarification.
That kind of happens.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about, that I don't like made-up bands in movies. Such as it is, the reason, because real bands always have more interesting stories and better music. We are literally trading down all the time. If you look at a movie like the Buddy Holly story, Gary Busey was literally nominated for an Oscar for that. So now with all that out of the way, why doesn't it work for Suck? And the answer is the stakes. Okay, so I had one joke. We never get a sense of the band's success as the movie progresses. It is often just glossed over as they remember they have to do vampire stuff in between their sets. So the real problem is with the competing interests we have in this movie, and that would be the competing interests of the music, the vampire plot, and the band on the road plot. And as a result, all are incredibly underdeveloped. Rob Stefanik seems more interested in jamming up the movie with his music than anything else. But knowing that his music is so weak, he had to wrap them in this vampire shell. And it's just sad and very transparent. And that is one of the reasons this movie is guilty.
Miss Teran.
Okay, so, Punk, there's probably about 6 or 7 songs that they have, and the vast majority of the rest of it is music that they obviously, copyrighted out. However, clearly you weren't paying attention to the songs because they're very much telling you what's happening in the movie. And when they become successful, there's literally a song that says, "Here comes success." And they're showing all of these taglines on newspapers. So I'm not sure if you were even really watching it.
You got me there, Your Honor. I didn't watch the movie.
Yeah, apparently.
I
Glossed through.
I've been
You were
really well so far.
GPT really hates fake
Italian
fans.
made up bands. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't have, you want this to be based on a real vampire band? Come on, buddy.
No, I'm not saying it should be based
I mean,
on a
in
real
this
band, but you
particular
can tell
case, I don't
that
understand
Stefanik
where a
wanted
made-up
to be
band
real.
wouldn't. I mean,
No, this is my point, is that this movie is just a hollow shell for Stefanik's less than stellar music. It's a complete vanity project of the highest order that is not good because the songs are not good, and he didn't have the wherewithal to write a good story around it. So he used the patina of vampirism in an endeavor of making it interesting. I mean, he got really lucky that he cast that one woman as the bassist. She's gorgeous to look at and makes a great vampire. But that's really all this movie has going for it, just like that's the only thing the band had going for it. He even knows he's making a bad movie by virtue of your own opening statement about trying to leverage the term suck for its negative connotations. Yes, very clever. Hats off to you, Stefanik. But guess what? It does suck.
I think you suck.
Well, you got me.
But
there.
however, that is not what I'm going to go through.
Do we need another judge?
No, I like the challenge.
This is a matter of perception, and you're perceiving that he is, kind of also projection. I mean, the thing is that you're perceiving him to have made this for himself, and just the simple fact is that I don't think this band is supposed to be good. You're not supposed to necessarily absolutely love these songs. Do I happen to know them? Yes. However, there's a whole point in them getting slightly better as they continue to go for the vampires. And the thing is that people aren't there to listen to their good music. They're there to see the freak show. They're there to see the vampires. Again, that was discussed in the movie.
Yes, but the music is so heavily featured, and I think it's fair to say that this is a vanity project when he wrote, directed, and so now you're saying it's a musical where the music isn't good by design, so it's bad on purpose.
That's why they have the other songs as well, which is just loaded.
Bad on purpose. But I'm willing to move on to my next point, Your Honor.
I like the next one, but that's definitely up to the jury.
And that's true too. I mean, with something like music, it's going to be subjective. I don't think the songs were particularly memorable. I don't think we'll be humming them the same way we were humming the Josie and the Pussycat songs. So let me talk about the story here. It is a band on the road story, like the aforementioned Josie and the Pussycats. And I want to throw in Eddie and the Cruisers too, because we never get to talk about Eddie and the Cruisers. Only we never, on the dark side, it doesn't matter. Only we don't get a sense of scale, so the band is basically always in the same spot. It seems like they're always doing these bar shows. They're always on the road. We're constantly being told that since the bassist is a hot vampire now, people love them. We're constantly being told that they're getting all this success, but we're not able to see it really articulated on the screen. That makes the movie interesting to watch. We just keep seeing them in all these dingy bars. So with the band part out of the way, and we all agree it's bad, but hey, it is called Suck. So let's look at the vampire story. You are now all remembering that Malcolm McDowell was actually in this movie, by the way. But the vampire story, it just fizzles out. And why is that? Because we see Joey being conflicted about becoming a vampire. And then finally, when he does become a vampire, his character remains the same worrywart he was, immediately regretting it. The movie's tone loses nothing by keeping Joey human. If anything, him maintaining his humanity is much more interesting as he watches the band descend around them. So the movie had really nowhere to go. So we just kind of get this bizarre climax of them going to Queenie's house. And it's a real fizzle. And oh yeah, Alice Cooper shows up. And to do what? Set up a sequel? Maybe? I don't think that's forthcoming. Very poor decisions.
Although this title would be Sucks, right?
Where's the judge?
Suckin' sucks. So you mentioned there being the fact that they're just going to bar to bar. I mean, do you even know any bands at all? I mean,
yes,
that
but we're
their
supposed to
whole
get a
life.
sense of the scale of their success, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we
No,
have
I don't think you're necessarily. That is not the main point of it. You're seeing them also fall into their own like addictions. Basically, this is oh, she turns into a vampire. I'm still the same person. The bar thing is really confusing me because they even have a map to show you they're on basically like a tour. And it's not a real tour because they're not a big band, but as a band, they're going to make it as many gigs as possible. And then they're on their way to a big industry insider gig. And that is why all of a sudden they get to that one. They're all vampires. They make it. We see the whole montage of them being famous, but that's not really that important because he still is conflicted. But yeah.
And I'm saying that those scenes that you described did an inadequate job of giving us an idea of how far the band has come, or if we're to believe, as you just said, how far they have fallen. I think we see the band as being pretty static, even to the point when Joey becomes a vampire, he doesn't actually change in any compelling or interesting way. So it just was a bit of a fizzle.
Yes, because when you become addicted to something, you don't necessarily change. It's something that happens over time.
Well, then why aren't we seeing that in the movie then?
Because
if you want to use it as a metaphor
and you're
for
not
addiction,
trying to get that serious into it.
Well, you can't keep having it both ways. We're making
Why
fun
not?
of addiction now.
Sometimes, I mean, as
maybe
far as
we could.
when you are in a band and that's something that's constantly happening, it's almost fun to look back at it. And the thing is that I can also laugh at death. And again, this is a matter of perception. You simply don't find that humorous, but I do. And
I mean, we could
tell someone that this is a bad movie because you simply don't agree with it. I mean,
it's my job, to be
of
fair.
course. Yeah, to be fair. But I mean, you also kind of sound like, I'm just so happy that I'm so happy for whatever people you are defending, because you're just, eating your own bullshit, but it's fun.
Look,
yeah, you show them. Dylan, come on,
yes, sir.
Move on with your next exhibit.
Okay, Your Honor. I have one last final exhibit I want to touch on, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit. And I kind of debated making a whole point about the cameos and star power this movie enlisted, because I'm loath to criticize Dave Foley at all. My fondness for Foley notwithstanding, though, we can talk about Alice Cooper, Moby, Henry Rollins, Iggy Pop, and Alex Lifeson. Am I saying that right, Maynard? Resident
I guess.
You're saying it right.
The fact he doesn't know how to say it says it all.
He's the worst member of Rush, Carl. You really don't need to know his name.
If Maynard's saying that, I'm taking that to the bank. So, to the director's credit, he sprinkles them into the movie where they are needed most. Peaks of personality to maintain our interest, but ultimately adding nothing of value to the story apart from their star power, and here's why. We are talking about them for who they are as actual people, not their characters. Replace any of these rock stars with a competent actor, and we would not remember anything about their characters. The bartender is not...
Objection. I didn't even know who Moby or Alex Lifeson was the first time I watched this. In fact, I really wasn't familiar with Iggy Pop either, and I still enjoyed it. So
today.
Again, perception.
Well, this is the perception that the director was going for, arguably, because let's face it, the bartender is not mysterious. Alice Cooper is mysterious. The border guard is not being sly. Lifeson is. Victor holding a shotgun to the band is not funny. Iggy Pop holding a shotgun is funny. Shock jocks are a dime a dozen, but Henry Rollins, he's compelling. Not the DJ character, was his name Rockin' Rudy? Who even cares anymore? No, you can't even remember. So this over-reliance on star power and recognizability, it's frankly a little insulting, and it was a choice. We can accept this type of pandering or acknowledge it represents a dearth of storytelling ability and is a cheap thrill. And with that, I will rest, Your Honor.
Ms. Teran, before you proceed with your first exhibit, would you care to respond to this allegation?
Well, the cast is also on my exhibit, so we'll move them up a tiny bit. How's that?
If that's what you want to do.
You don't really like Dave Foley, but
I love Dave Foley.
Oh, you do? Well, I mean, listen, he's a disinterested actor playing a disinterested manager, which is perfect. I mean, he plays it perfectly. Alice Cooper, yeah, sure, he's mysterious, but I mean, somebody still had to write stuff. I think the only thing he lent in was towards the end where he says, "Welcome to my nightmare," which again is a reference to his song.
Well, that's the other thing too. Alice Cooper, even if we replace Alice Cooper with just an actor, that character doesn't do anything substantive.
Yeah, but the point of this movie
is
is to have these homages to rock and roll. And if you have all of this and you don't have people who are known in rock and roll, then, you know, ultimately, what is the point? I mean, this is his kind of like fun, you know, naughty love letter to rock and roll, if you want to, you know,
in my
out an
argument,
idea.
it's just not artfully done. I mean, an homage, like this is like a mackerel to the face, you know. I mean, it's just right there, you know. So like, if there could have been a subtle way to do it, that you could have made it a little more clever, but he opted instead just for the big peaks of star power. And again, to his credit, he sprinkled them out through the movie where they were needed most, because frankly, he needed them everywhere. So he did it well, but it was a cheap thrill, you know. It's like spiking the movie with celebrities here and there. That way you sit up and go, oh, hey, there's Moby. Oh, hey, there's Iggy Pop or Alice Cooper, you know, but it doesn't actually add anything to the story or the value of a film.
Miss Teran, would you care to just would you care to go further?
To go further? Well, I'm coming back to the cast anyway. So he's just continuing to be a silly dilly about it. So we're just
silly dilly. We've got a new name on the show, Silly Dilly.
You're being such a silly dilly right now.
Silly Dilly,
and
I love it.
I'm having such a hard time not laughing in your face about your prosecution.
He's too tall.
But it's great. It's like, wow, you really believe this. It's so nice. You're such a sweet person. I hope they pay you big money. Aw. Oh, bless his heart. All right. So I guess my exhibit then.
Yes, please.
Oh, you can keep insulting me if you want to. I suppose.
Actually, yes. Keep doing
Listen,
that.
Jolene Schlender. I don't need to hear another word from you. Oh wait, I do, because you're prosecution. My bad. All right.
That's all right.
So I mean, listen, we do have Alice Cooper in here, and he's in here multiple times. I think something that's really awesome is he was clearly really into doing this and was really having fun. All of his own costumes were pretty much, he's supplied them, except for the really dope ass leather jacket, because it had to be cut open for his wings. So that's really cool. His daughter is in it, who plays the barmaid, who plays any barmaid I've ever met before. Which is, you know, enough. And yeah, we do have Moby, which I wasn't familiar with. The character was funny, just in general. You have a guy named Beef playing for the Secretaries of State, and he has a USDA stamp on his neck. That's fucking funny. I mean, sure, am I ripping at the seams? No, but that's something humorous. And then to add in the fact, if you know, Moby is a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking hilarious. It just adds another little humorous moment to it.
Also, not a rock star.
No, not a rock star. But hey, doesn't matter. He likes music. I don't know. I don't know Moby. But hey, that was still funny. Okay, he was a vegan playing beef, and he went out there and he fucking did that shit. I don't know how. Obviously, they weren't real steaks. You know, did you think they're real steaks? Maybe they were sponges. Anyway, and you have Henry Rollins playing Rockin' Roger. Honestly, he sounds like the best caricature of every late night, early morning DJ he's ever had to probably deal with in person, and definitely personified that. I mean, you are guessing that maybe this was just him being him. You don't know. Do you have a copy of the script? Or
I can tell you, having watched Henry Rollins stand up and listening to the man in several interviews, he was pretty much being himself, just cranked up to 11 for sure, because it's a movie, but yeah.
And he was still fun. He was still fun for sure. You have Queenie, played by Dimitri Coates, which brings in his own songs, which is from The Burning Brides. I like those songs. If you didn't, then go fuck yourself. Because I still definitely have those on my favorites list. And the fact that he was killed with a Gibson guitar, I mean, that's pretty great. Let's see. You also have, yes, Eddie Van Helsing.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Van Halen. Come on. That's fucking great too.
Where was Malcolm McDowell's song? He even said in the bloopers he wanted to sing. I think he got bait and switched in this movie.
You're already complaining you don't like the songs. You want him to sing?
I want Malcolm McDowell to sing. Absolutely.
Over.
I would be on the other side of this argument if Malcolm McDowell was singing in this movie.
I think that's a lie. That's a
Double defense.
I don't know. I really
also
like Malcolm McDowell.
really
but-
appreciate that the parts, they didn't try to attempt some terrible CGI or really bad makeup. They straight up took scenes from an older movie called Oh Lucky Man and exerted right into the movie. I think they did a great job of rolling with that for sure. Totally fun, and you don't have to worry about it looking really extra cheesy. And then you have the border guard, who's the guitarist for Rush, which is just hilarious. Which was also just really hilarious. That whole scene where he's giving him just the stink eye. He's like, you got drugs on you, and you got old girl who's thinking that, looking like she's definitely on 8 different types of drugs all at once and trying to go through withdrawals, and she throws up in front of him, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's cool. No problem. You guys are in a band. And then you have the great moment, which is reference to, our gun control issue, is you have Malcolm McDowell coming through, and he asks him for his citizenship. He's like, American. And what did you go to Canada for? Hunting. He's like, oh, so do you have weapons in the car? He's like, yeah, lots of weapons. And he's like, welcome home. That's great. As a Texan, yeah, we're big on our stupid weapons. Also probably not known to you guys, but there is also the club bouncer. The one that is talking to Susan, the girlfriend, is from a Canadian band called Rough Trade. So they're also repping a lot of Canadian bands, because if we haven't mentioned it, this movie is Canadian.
That's not a point in your favor.
That's really rude. You guys are so rude. It's just being so rude.
Man, if we ever met an Italian Canadian, I don't know how well that would end.
That'd be
Mamma mia.
Mamma mia.
Crap, nope, that is how it would end. We figured it out. Never mind.
Pretty much. That's terrible.
So you're doing the interview?
Miss Teran, if you care to move to your next exhibit.
I do care. All right. So, Suck opens wide from the start of the movie. The first scene is a shadowed Henry Rollin as a DJ, obviously. And he kind of serves more as the movie's VJ. I don't know if you know that, video DJ, for all of the music video moments that they have in the song. He also mentions there's a lot of mention of STDs. So guys, wrap it up and, get tested, all of that.
I have to get a girlfriend first.
Jesus, Ben, come on.
You can pay for them.
Yes.
If I apply myself, I can get it for free.
It's really hell on reels. It is.
Oh man.
I like all of the mentions of sexual health, and then you have Jennifer going down on beef, which is a great scene change, going right into Tyler, the second guitarist, biting into the hot dog. While you can definitely hear Moby screaming, definitely another funny moment.
Good
but
cut.
maybe it's a tonal shift for some people, God forbid.
There was a tone.
Exactly. It's all fun. That's the tone. And if you want to say there's anything else, I was expecting, if it was Dylan, I was expecting a certain case to come up, but thankfully that hasn't happened.
I do like talking about tonal shifts. That's true.
Yes, you do. Also, vampirism leads way to a lot of aspects, but is mostly known for being soaked in sexuality. I'm not sure why I mentioned that, but the simple fact is, there's still sex in here. Okay, there's sex, blood, and rock and roll, and it delivers on all three. So not only that, but you have these homages to horror, which of course are specifically Dracula. Queenie coming into the city with that fantastic stop motion with the little bat and all of the little tiny hearses going around. You're gonna sit here and tell me that was terrible?
Yeah, sure. Why not? That was pretty awful.
Did you say fantastic or fangtastic?
You know damn well I said fangtastic.
Thank you.
All right, actually, if I could, I want to object to one point, because you talk about blood, sex, and rock and roll, and they're all in this movie, but they're not married together well at all. They're quite distinct and jarring every time they happen. Like I mentioned in my original argument, they're not strong enough at any one point, right? And they can't lean on each other either. So you don't get this nice blend of the vampirism, of the rock and roll, of the sex appeal, of the blood, of the violence, of whatever horror would be in this. It's basically like crudely stacked Legos. They're not really working together to give the movie shape. They're all just kind of in it. So that would be my response to that.
So, the music of the winners can be perceived as lackluster, as Dylan's already tried to throw out there. But again, that is kind of the point. It's not, I don't think they were really pushing out to be on the top hundreds when they're making these songs. I personally enjoy the songs, but mostly I can tell that they were written to help along the story. When he's on drugs, he says, "This is your brain on drugs. I'm coming to get you." At the very start of the movie, he is basically letting you know this vampire is coming to get Jennifer. You can see that all of these music moments are telling you what's happening. And even the soundtrack that they throw in there are just aiding to that story if you're paying attention. And if you're not paying attention, sure, you'll probably just think it's stupid, which you do. And in that case, that kind of sucks, because you could just be really enjoying this for the fun movie it is, but instead you want to be a dick about it. Anyway.
Now, do you have a character witness, Miss
I
Teran?
do. I have. So I'd like to call to the stand Carl Putnam.
Mr. Carl Putnam, please place your hand here on this bear trap.
Ooh.
Ow.
That's all.
That guy.
Your Honor,
He's sworn in.
members of the jury.
He wasn't really sworn in because I put his hand on a bear trap. So that's
Yeah,
a joke.
he just got his arm
Scaretaker's
chopped
just a
off.
jerk.
Yeah. Gosh, Scaretaker. All right. So Carl, music connoisseur. Really quick, have you even heard or seen Suck before the mentions of this trial?
No, I had not seen this movie until I was told I was being called as a character witness. And then I witnessed the movie in its entirety.
All
Well,
right.
that's good. That helps.
That always helps. Always helps. So just so you guys know, it's not like I've conned someone in here who's been loving this movie
With
as
a
long as
promise of
I
Doritos.
have.
Doritos.
Yeah, Doritos. So what were your favorite rock references shown in this?
Well, as a connoisseur of rock and roll for over 40 years, unlike apparently Dylan, who clearly knows nothing about music, I enjoyed the movie for the music references alone. First off, the Winners are not supposed to be a band that is supposed to be successful. They're supposed to be every freaking bar band that's not really good. And the only way they can become successful is for their bass player to become a vampire and therefore attract people, that type of stuff. And to go to one other point, the whole point of them moving through stuff, this is clearly over the span of like a week. And so they're not going to be an arena band. Heck, they're going to CMJ, which if you know anything about music, you would know is an industry convention where lots of bands who are trying to make it big, who are local bands, that type of stuff, play out at. I love this movie for everything it is, because it is which is the point of the movie. It is the musician experience. We have everything from the female member of the band being portrayed as a sex symbol, which happens pretty much consistently in the music industry. We've got the cheesy radio DJ. We've got the manager who only cares about money. I mean, the line about, have you considered being a Japanese hip hop band? Come on.
And he was right.
Well, that's okay. That goes to my point. The drummer jokes throughout this movie are awesome. And again, if you know music, drummer jokes are like, that is like the whole joke's about every person in the role they play in a band. And the whole point that the roadie does everything. Okay, that's how it actually works. The roadie's the one that takes care of everything. The band doesn't do crap. The homages, Dylan talked about, well, there wasn't enough of this or that. Well, I beg to differ. They put in and this I think might be the best part.
Objection. I'm sorry, but when you say I didn't say there was enough of this or that, what would that be? This or that?
Stuff that you would care about in terms of music. You focused so much on this being a vehicle for the star when the whole point of the movie is to talk about the way the music industry works. It has nothing to do with that band. That band is just the vehicle. And to my point, in terms of the homages to music and that type of stuff, there are 5 album covers referenced in this movie. Okay, which the most obvious of which is the Abbey Road one where they're walking across the crosswalk. But in addition, they reference Electric Warrior by T-Rex, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, Beggar's Banquet by the Rolling Stones, and then The Kids Are All Right, when the kids clearly aren't all right, kind of towards the end of the movie when they're in that kind of dressing roomish place. And so, there's little stuff in this movie that if you're into music, totally grabs you. The other thing that there is the whole sold their souls to rock and roll part. Okay, this goes back to friggin' Robert Johnson, the godfather of rock and roll. Okay, there's an homage in the movie to the 1986 movie Crossroads. If you'll remember, in this movie, Alice Cooper's talking to him, and there's that cheesy kind of cloud, background or whatever. If you remember the Ralph Macchio movie Crossroads, that is what it looks like at the end of the scene when he's basically making a deal with the Scratch character, who is essentially the devil in that role. There's so much good stuff. The other part is the music people are great actors in this. I figured Alex Lifeson would be awful in this movie, but he is one of my favorite parts. He plays that border guard so well. And Henry Rollins, yes, he's playing an amped up version of himself, but that's what you need for that role. So I had no issues with that. And again, it lends to the music. This is a love letter in many ways to anyone who has tried to form a band, who has ever dealt with band issues or ever been in the music industry. And if you don't understand that, then yeah, maybe you're not going to like the movie, but then you just aren't paying attention. It's not that it's a bad movie.
Do you have any further exhibits, Miss Teran?
You got to pass it to the prosecutor.
No questions from the prosecution, Your Honor.
Any further exhibits, Miss Teran, or would you care to rest on that?
I don't necessarily. Well, just to further elaborate on the vampirism, obviously you mentioned that there's not enough of both, but I mean, there's plenty of vampire scenes, so I don't really get that. But also, you see Hugo's descent into madness, even by seeing the map that constantly comes up, which is Hugo's map. While they're going through all of those things, you see him start kind of losing his mind while he's talking to himself in third person. And I just love all of the funness and all of that. But that should be mostly it. Yes.
All sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Schlender, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be characteristically brief. Accuse me of being uncharitable, but do not accuse me of being wrong. Look, Suck was a small movie that lucked out with the talent it could slop up on the screen. On paper, this is a strong movie. And if Reels of Justice was a pitch meeting, I would greenlight a movie about a vampire band that had an Iggy Pop cameo. But at the end of the day, we all saw the final product. We saw a director struggle with story, struggle with songwriting, and suffuse his movie with cheap cameo hits that can only leave us asking why. Why did you do this? So any one piece of this movie is bad, but put them all together and it really goes from bad to insultingly bad. So why call it Suck? The real answer is because the movie gives you nothing to chew on. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Teran, please present your closing argument.
So I knew someone who didn't like cucumbers. Then they tried a new
no.
drink that was cucumber and lime flavored, and they blasted on social media that the drink was disgusting and it was an atrocity, advising people never to drink it. And people who trusted that individual heeded those words and trusted them. However, facts were never mentioned, and the fact was that they didn't even like cucumbers to begin with. And this omission led people to believe that their opinion had some validity. And there is certainly nothing wrong with having different tastes, but there is a low in tearing down other people's possible enjoyment of something that you are simply uncomfortable or unfamiliar with. Maybe it's cucumbers or olives or hot chili peppers, or maybe it's a humorous vampire movie. In closing, I want you to consider that the real monsters are whatever people the prosecution believes they are representing, because what kind of people would deny other people suck if that's what they want? So, prosecution, stick that in your human juice box and suck on it.
Who's the person? Prince Harry?
Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Maynard Bangs, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. Always Use a Condom, Never Trust a Goddamn Vampire, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the spooky facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie and will therefore be condemned to the depths of movie hell. The scaretaker will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way. Personally, I'm a big fan of this movie, so I hope they don't raise the stakes in there.
God damn it, Scaretaker.
Where's the other guy? What'd he do with him?
He's going to the PP Palace, yeah.
He's not in this room, so it doesn't matter.
So you're the foreman.
Me, I'm doing a great job foremaning. I'm sorry, it's that Scaretaker guy.
This is the stuff you don't get, Izzy.
Right. I just want to say it wasn't even my idea to bring that guy back. Whose idea was that, Ben?
It was a very handsome.
It was exactly your idea. So, suck. The question is, did it? Big Ben, what are you thinking?
Well, I sort of appreciated the prosecution's case. Well, I kind of thought this film was like a gentleman's six. It was all right. The points that he made were the points that I would make if I were prosecuting it. But the fact is, I don't get a lot of those references that a lot of that were brought up as far as some of this obscure rock stuff. I don't know all the cameos that were in there. I recognize that they were cameos. I just didn't know who they were. So I kind of half enjoyed.
Well, let me touch. Very little of it is obscure. I mean, Alice Cooper and Iggy Pop and Henry Rollins.
Alice Cooper these are recognized. Moby, right?
They're all pretty much as big as that. Moby's fairly big, and the references like when they did that Abbey Road shot. Have you ever seen Family Guy? When Stewie gets in the car and drives like all the way across the country and punches Will Ferrell in the face or something, that's not funny. I don't know if it's Will Ferrell. That's what I wanted to do to the director.
You're right.
That's what I wanted to do to the director when they did the Abbey Road shot. But that's not clever, And then the Born in the USA one, same thing. I hated those two moments. I did not recognize the other three, and the director's lucky because of those would be three more moments I would have hated. So I bringing in that
expert testimony. The Electric Warrior one, the second that came on screen, I was pointing at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio, just going, "Ooh, I know that reference. I know that one."
To me, there's just too many. Like with the cameos, there's too many.
What's the point of the movie, right?
What is? I don't know exactly. Let's talk. We can talk in a second exactly what the point of the movie is. I still don't exactly know, but I think that the character witness was really touching on it about being about a local band trying to make it. That I see, and how it can get torn apart, by internal stuff. Yeah, but stuff like that's unsubtle, like going to the crossroads, which is all the way back to.
Doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie. Or the lack of subtlety, I should say.
I think there's something about ham-fistedness. I'd like to hear from Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
This is right down the middle for me. This is a gentleman's 5, without question. So I was waffling either way. I think Dylan made a lot of really good points, but at the same time, I did not hate watching this. It was enjoyable. Like I said, I was literally pointing. I was not even kidding. I was pointing at the screen with excitement that I got a reference, that I was canny enough to get a certain reference. Yeah, I felt with it, exactly. And the fact that Dave Foley is in this movie, I knew I was going to have an okay time the second he showed up, which I did not know he was going to be in it. Mm-hmm. I wasn't pointing at the screen when he showed up because I think we all know who Dave Foley is, but really made it go down easy.
See, here, that's one I would. See, the couple that I like are like Dave Foley I like because he's a Canadian comedian, right? Mm-hmm. Alex Lifeson, Rush is like Canada's one good band. And although he's the worst part of it, and you know, I don't think he's recognizable as a face. I like that he has something to do with it.
I had no idea.
But like, you know, like Moby, he's not a rocker, so like it's funny because it's ironic. If the only cameo was Moby, I'd like it, you know. But like Iggy Pop and Cooper, it's kind of like the guys who kind of agree to do everything. I did like Malcolm McDowell, even though he's, again, not really rock related, but I did like him. They should have had him sing. That would have been cool. But I'm just saying that I like music references, but a lot of these were like VH1, 4 p.m., like very, very mainstream things.
Well, I mean, the thing that really stuck with me is that it occasionally looks and feels like a Canadian television pilot that didn't go to series. Having seen a lot of Canadian television in my life, that is something I'm very familiar with and kind of reticent to appreciate because it all kind of looks the same. And I wish it looked more like a movie at times, although I did like the interludes, the animated interludes I thought were very charming. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to say that this is a good movie, but I did not hate watching it. And when I'm at a gentleman's 5, that's the divide that I need to cross here. So I have no problem locking in if you guys want to start locking in as well.
Go ahead, lock in. You can.
I will go not guilty.
Big Ben.
I appreciate the defender more than the prosecutor in this case. I think the vampire symbolism works pretty well with the whole journey of an indie band. It works with its budget. It is constrained by that budget. That's what drags it down. I love Malcolm McDowell. I love Foley. And I liked the character witness sort of explaining a lot of those sort of references that I didn't get because I guess I'm not with it like Ryan is. But yeah, I think that a lot of it sort of works. So I will not watch it again. I don't have any problem going not guilty.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're saying a lot of things. I think. I mean, when Ryan says it's 5, I mean, you look at the Rotten Tomatoes and it's like critic 50%, audience 53, and you know everyone's right down the middle. And that's how I felt when I turned it off. I was like, there was stuff I liked, and there was a lot of stuff I didn't. I think it's strongest when what the character witness Carl had to say, like when it's about local bands and how they sort of implode. That's cool. Drummer jokes are kind of always funny. I think it's weakest when it's making like Abbey Road references. The music is also not particularly great. The stuff I did like it was pretty much the Queenie vampire, you know, who's actually a singer, whereas like the director's a wannabe singer, and that's why he wanted to make a musical. I mean, that is all transparent to me. This dude's it's a try hard. I'm really trying hard to make a musical cult film. Really hard. Please become a cult film. It doesn't for me. I agree with Big Ben. I also won't ever watch this movie again, but it had enough things that I could let it just sneak by. And of course, you guys already did anyway. So, but it is unanimous. I'll give it a not guilty too. So let's get out there and tell that a very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of The People versus Suck, we find the defendant not guilty of the sin of being a bad movie.
It sucked.
I wanted to see burning.
The verdict is so rendered. Suck is hereby released, and its makers may continue producing motion pictures under the condition that they not blow. Movie hell is avoided. Court is adjourned.
This is fan favorite reporter Bencula, returning from Pennsylvania to interview at the Reels of Justice Courthouse. Miss Isabel Teran, the jury has delivered a verdict. Do you think their verdict sucked?
If it did suck, it sucked long and hard, and it was great. Definitely very happy, and join me next time when I bring the movie Blow.
Thank you very much. And here's Mr. Dylan J. Schlender. My, you look very tasty this evening. What did you think of that jury's verdict?
Well, thank you.
I hate this time of year.
Fan favorite reporter.
Fan favorite, yes, this is true. Well, I thought it was a fair verdict. I thought it was a very good case. The defense brought a lot to the table, and it was a fun movie to think about and discuss, and it was neat seeing all these rock and rollers in there. And so this is a fine one. It's quite all right, and so I'm okay with this. I will not lose sleep over Suck being found not guilty.
Very understanding of you. Well, what is your blood type? O negative?
B positive, just like me.
I'm intolerant to B positive. I must link back to Pennsylvania. And that is all from the courthouse. Let's return to the studio for post-trial analysis.
Blah. That's right.
You love
Pennsylvania, though.
I love Pennsylvania. That's cool.
I just spent the weekend in Pennsylvania, actually. No, fun case. So Isabel, how did you see this movie as soon as it went to? I assume this went straight to DVD.
I think I found it streaming somewhere, and I was like, that looks like my kind of movie. But I'm pretty sure it was like very soon after it came out, so I was probably like 19 or 20.
And everyone you've introduced to it was like, I hate it, or you hear generally negative stuff about it.
I mean, I don't have a lot of people to introduce it to, but
so you just wanted to subject us to it.
I did subject my best friends to watch it, but usually I keep them away because I know that they would hate it. But that was exactly what I needed, so I made them watch it, and then I'm like, okay, now talk shit about the movie so I can try to figure out where you're coming from, because I like this movie too much to think really terribly about it.
We're your freaking guinea pigs, us and Carl. Carl, you're still allowed to be here, right? Carl, where are you?
I'm here.
Now
coming in touch with the music info.
I'm gonna call you Izzy, Mizzy Izzy, and Carl. You guys, what do you guys do when you're not doing this? What keeps you busy?
Okay, so me, Carl, and also Chris Ramey are all hosts of the podcast Hearsing Around on the Rabbit Hole Podcast Network, where we speak of the recently deceased. So we talk about their achievements and anything we find in their life that's interesting. And then we play Carl's game of Are You as Brain Dead as They Are? And I have won both times, meaning that I'm brain dead because I didn't get either one of them. So we do have a couple episodes.
How recently deceased?
We try to get them as recently deceased as possible.
Minutes?
Like Drew Barrymore's career.
I mean, not minutes. That'd be really hard to do that. Maybe we try to make it within a couple of weeks. But I really like the Brain Dead game because it kind of gives us a chance to talk about someone else who has passed.
So, but are you not literally measuring? It's more of an estimation based on how long ago they were dead or something, right?
Right. We are trying to do more recent people. So we have recently spoke about, of course, Bob Barker and Jimmy Buffett and Steve Harwell.
Now that's not fair because Jimmy Buffett was brain dead before he died.
Oh, leave Jimmy Buffett.
We're not well, the brain dead game is for random people. So Carl, why don't you explain your game?
Okay, so the game is not recently deceased people. It could be these people could have been dead 20 years ago. They're just deceased celebrities, and I give them 10 facts about them, or up to 10 facts. They can get it before the 10th fact, but so like the first person, well, actually I shouldn't do it. Someone might not have listened to the episode, but for example, the first person is someone that Izzy probably never saw because they died like 30 years ago. And
like 20 days after the day of my birth. So there was no chance I was going to know that person. It was still fun.
Did you not have TV? I saw a lot of people who died before I was born on the television.
But he doesn't get super popular people that we would of course know.
Now that one is super popular.
I mean, not the other people in the Rat Pack are popular.
Oh wow, Sammy
This
Davis.
better not
I'm
be
not
about Peter
saying-
Lawford.
I'm
It was
not saying
Sammy.
he's
Sammy?
not.
He's the
Yes.
famous
He's not
Rat Pack
popular.
guy.
He's like
but
number
everybody knows
2. Come
You
on.
see the
Sinatra and Dean
shovel, you're
Martin.
down deeper. You didn't know
That's
Iggy
okay.
Pop, and
I
now you
don't
didn't know
care.
Sammy Davis Jr. And they played together. It was sick.
Wait, that would have been
Carl,
sick. Oh man.
Besides this game, tell us, what the show is about from your perspective.
Well, I really enjoy learning about people. I really wasn't into Jimmy Buffett. I think one of my favorite facts about learning about him was, have you guys seen Jurassic World? Don't answer that. I know you probably already have.
Yeah, he carries the 2 margaritas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had no idea. Listen, that part, I watched that movie. I'm like, look at that guy taking the margaritas. That's hilarious. So to learn that was actually Jimmy Buffett, I was like,
He never found that shaker of salt either.
Yeah.
Right.
it's
Pop
really
culture, but with death.
Yeah, and with Bob Barker, like he had beef with or Brussels, as I like to call it, with Betty White, which I'm like, how do you?
That was all stage stuff. That was just to draw tickets to WrestleMania. Don't fall for the marketing. And all right, give us the name of the show and where we can find it.
So we are Hearsing Around. And
Hearsing.
you can, hearsing around. Get it? Because they're dead and you put them in a hearse and we're just horsing.
Yeah, the scare taker gave you that one. We know.
Oh my God, did he really? No, he didn't. And so basically you can find us on rabbitholepodcast.com or wherever you find podcasts. And you can also find us on all the social medias through the Rabbit Hole Network or also at Hearsing Around Pod.
I have it on good authority that the scare taker is the Ghost Rider.
Jeez.
Oh, it's gonna be a long season.
Long Halloween.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to work on that laugh if I'm gonna have to keep listening to it.
Why?
I don't know. I think it could.
You don't know what the scare taker
sounds.
sounds. You don't know what the scare taker sounds like. He's an intellectually distinct.
Intellectually distinct.
No one knows what he sounds like.
I'm saying
up the Crypt Keeper for some reason.
I'm saying
doesn't
their
sound
cackle
like
could use some work. Is all I'm saying.
He has
You
a
gotta
dry
really get that.
cackle because he didn't hydrate enough today. We always ask our guests for recommendations for movies that you think people should see. So, Izzy, what is a movie that you think people should see?
All right. If you want your Catholic mother to be concerned for your soul because you nonstop watching a movie over and over and over again, let me recommend 2002's Queen of the Damned, based on Anne Rice's book of the same name. Lestat de Lioncourt is a thirsty and angsty vampire who becomes a rock god, and he's basically because he's big time lonely, and instead of dating someone and trying to make a friend like a normal person, he betrays all vampires by existing in the public eye. Plans a concert, which is basically a suicide attempt, because he's bored with living for eternity, vampire problems. Meanwhile, basically the Queen of Vampires, Queen of the Damned, Akasha, played by the gorgeous Aaliyah, basically has awakened and wants to make him her king and drink the whole world dry. All the songs by Lestat are done by Jonathan Davis. So if you didn't like this music, probably that's not much better. But I like Jonathan Davis of Korn, the band, not the vegetable, in case you weren't familiar.
I like the vegetable too.
Yeah, vegetable's okay if you don't want to let it digest through your system.
Technically a green.
But I do recommend listening to the soundtrack version of System, sung by the late Chester Bennington. And Queen of the Damned is currently streaming, that you can get.
No, who knows? Who knows where? We don't know.
That's why I just said it's streaming. It's just streaming. I've caught on.
I bet it's Tubi. It sounds like something would be on Tubi.
Stop saying that word. I have to bleep it every time you say it now.
You're really going to bleep Tubi every time I say
no, because I don't have that energy. Carl, what is your recommendation?
Well, my recommendation is one that I recommended to Izzy just within the past week, and then turned up on New York Times Connections today, and that is The Dirty Dozen, the 1967 classic with Lee Marvin, Charles Bronson, Ernest Borgnine, John Cassavetes, Jim Brown, George Kennedy. Look, I could go on and on and on. The movie is one of the best action movies, in my opinion, of all time. the plot surrounding a bunch of prisoners have to get together and do something to screw up Nazis is always good, especially good in 2023, where apparently in certain parts of Texas, you're not even supposed to learn about Anne Frank. So I'm all for blowing up Nazis. So what can I say? It's an awesome film.
That's right. I forgot I was supposed to always specify that it's a spooky movie, but since we already have to recommend every Charles Bronson movie eventually anyway.
Yeah, we want to take some away from
and
Dylan,
I think that's one Schlenzo hasn't done. We're gonna let that one stand. Schlenzo, what have you got? Spooky. Heckman.
My heckmendation. You smell that, Maynard? The crisp autumn air. Do you hear the squeal of the school bus doors opening as children giddily conspire in their unbuckled seats? The leaves falling faster than my esteem for vampire movies can only mean one thing. We are in living scarecrow season. And to kick it off, I am starting with an incredibly disappointing entry into that genre, American Scarecrow. Released in 2020. I wish. It would make this movie so much better.
Does John Mellencamp do the soundtrack?
No, God, it's just nope. I don't know who does it. They're like they found the B-sides from the Goosebump TV show and used those. So it was released in 2020, and my goodness, it is a stinker. A small construction firm moves into a farmstead to renovate it, but alas, a scarecrow starts to murder them. The worst part, it's not even a scarecrow. It's a soldier with PTSD. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I say that was the worst part? Because it's not. Here's the worst part. When the lead actress points out how the scarecrow is a soldier with PTSD, she says, I think he thinks we're terrorists. The boyfriend replies, then that's how we'll fight him, like terrorists. It was the single most offensive and terrible thing I may have ever seen in my life.
You're right, that was bad.
At least it had the decency to be under an hour and 20 minutes. And I can only hope to you, dear listeners, I can reap up better recommendations moving forward. Streaming, where else? Tubi.
Yeah.
Naturally.
I like that you will only scab for Tubi, but I mean, like...
No. To be clear on their position, though, no one's calling people to boycott streaming services.
That's okay. I guess that's. Hey, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, Ben. I want someone to just tell me what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where to get advice.
Maynard, the show must go on.
Fine. That means then we have to go to you know who.
Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
Ryan, what's your recommendation?
My spooky hecka whatever.
He loved it.
This week is not necessarily a good movie, but it is an interesting one. From director Herschel Gordon Lewis, it's 1963's Blood Feast. The movie is only 67 minutes long, so it doesn't boast much of a plot. It has something to do with a nefarious Egyptian caterer who turns to serial killing to dismember young ladies for ritual sacrifice. Whatever. Lewis is perhaps the very definition of an outsider artist, making gore-splattered, low-budget curios that often take on the properties of a disturbing fever dream. He was known for his graphic violence, portrayed in such a way that his detractors dismissed him as a snuff filmmaker, but there's something charming about having a woman having her tongue ripped out only to use a cow tongue as a prop, hilariously outsized. You cannot hate a movie like that. Blood Feast is currently streaming on Canopy. Support your local library.
All right, delicious.
That sounds like a Maynard movie right there.
I do like some tongue. I also like that. Like that's why this is our favorite season, though, right? Because it's always horror and short run times are a hallmark of horror. We love it. You know,
it is so.
Are we recommending anything over 100 minutes this season? It's wrong.
So somebody's making tacos de lengua.
Exactly. So now our film today was a horror comedy musical. So of course I have to recommend one myself. But a lot like your uncle, I'm going to up the ante and choose an animated example, 2012's Scooby-Doo, Music of the Vampire.
Nice.
The first entry in the series to be a musical, and the 17th overall. It finds the Mystery Inc. gang on the set of a vampire film that's being plagued by an actual real-life vampire.
Jinkies.
What are the odds? Obviously, the selling point here is the singing, namely anything Scooby and Shaggy get to sing. Velma and Fred have singing voice doubles, but as best as I can tell, Welker and Lillard did the singing for Shaggy and Scoob. And that's basically gold throughout. It's also grounded in the lore of Bram Stoker's Dracula, including, like our movie today, a descendant of the novel's vampire hunter, Van Helsing. Also, be on the listen out for voice actor powerhouses Jim Cummings and Rob Paulson in prominent roles. Could one of them be the guy or ghoul we're introduced to in Act 1 and expected to have forgotten about 80 minutes later? I'll let you watch it yourself and find out, because I don't remember. Big Ben, send us on home.
I'm going to recommend a vampire film.
You're going to what? You're going to what?
I'm going to recommend a vampire film that honestly I kind of hated the first time I saw it, but I rewatched it last year as part of a 90s horror marathon and was absolutely captivated throughout its runtime, which is 2 hours and 7 minutes. Watch it anyway. And that's Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, when I first saw it, I may not have been ready for it because I remember being very bored and slightly confused. In the 15 years since, however, I have read the novel, seen the 1930s film, learned a bit more of the lore surrounding Vlad the Impaler, and maybe am just a little bit wiser. I'll let Maynard decide. No. But whatever the contributing factors, I dug in on this. I dug the second viewing. There are really only two elements that don't work for me. That's Keanu Reeves and the Russianness of the ending. Every other cast member is fantastic, and the bloody yet sensual story unfolds. I love the historical context mixed into the novel's original plot, and that visual style is so hypnotic. It feels like one of those great collaborations where both the director and the actors are both at the top of their games and have the same vision for the product that they're working on. And Winona Ryder, people have always name dropped her in Stranger Things and Mr. Deeds or whatever else she was in, and I always thought, yeah, she's fine, I guess, but I never got the true appeal. Good Lord, is she sexy as hell in this film. I can't account for it. How can all this luminous sexuality shine for just one single film, a single moment in history, and then just be snuffed out? It's unfathomable. But if you've never seen it, like me, or if you're like me and only saw it 20 years ago plus, watch it again, make a night out of it, turn the lights out and make a vodka cranberry, because this one got better with age.
Cranberry juice does not get better with age. I can tell you that much.
No, the film does, though.
Ben, you've never seen like Edward Scissorhands? She's pretty in that. Come on.
Yeah, she's okay.
Yeah. Beetlejuice, I think she's still like, she gets to be cute later.
I hate Beetlejuice.
What?
It depends. You gotta be
a story for another
right. It's
day.
true. You gotta be a teen. Well, you gotta be a teen
is
and
amazing.
watching those movies in the '90s too, growing up with them. You know, so if Big Ben caught him late, but
yeah, the Beetlejuice musical.
We're all out of show. But we want to thank our guests Isabel Teran and Carl Putnam of Hersing Around.
Hersing Around.
Thank you both and we hope both of you will join us again as well as the Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels, keeps burning.
Keeps burning.
Count it.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.